Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter, who is running for Senator Dianne Feinstein's Senate seat in California, has taken a strong stance on Israel's far-right government, in particular Benjamin Netanyahu. And she's done so by siding with it. Now, before I tell you how Porter pretty much whitewashed Netanyahu's actions, let's just quickly remember what is currently transpiring in Israel as a result of Prime Minister Netanyahu wanting to weaken the country's Supreme Court.
Protesters here, they're chanting democracy right now, are warning that if this law goes through, it is a potentially fatal blow to Israel's democracy. They say it would center a dangerous amount of power in the hands of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who, Alex, of course, is on trial as we speak for criminal corruption charges. Many of the protesters here believe that ultimately this law is about Netanyahu trying to get out from underneath these criminal charges that he's facing. Now, the prime minister, of course, strongly denies that. He says these laws are necessary reforms to curb what he says are activist judges standing in the way of Israel's democratically elected government.
Now, this past weekend, there were as many as 200,000 protesters, some of whom gathered in Jerusalem, others gathered in Tel Aviv. It was just an incredible sight to see, and it's because they see the importance of checks and balances in Israel, and so I commend them for speaking out. Now back to Porter, though, and I think that context is really important so you understand why. I can only speak for myself. I'm disappointed in Katie Porter. But nonetheless, last month, Porter and 15 other Democratic House members visited Israel and met with Benjamin Netanyahu. The visit was sponsored by J Street, which is, it's a pro-Israel lobby, but it's not like AIPAC, where it's, AIPAC's pretty right wing, whereas J Street has gotten a lot of condemnation from Benjamin Netanyahu for allegedly being full of left-wing radicalists or whatever, like nonsense. But nonetheless, J Street organized this, and here's how Porter described her meeting with Netanyahu. Porter said that while she herself had requested an audience with Netanyahu when in late January, she first met with Michael Herzog, the Israeli ambassador to the United States, for a conversation focused on ways to enhance Israel's outreach to the progressive community in the United States and new avenues for cooperation, as he wrote on social media. That's where I made the specific ask that I wanted to meet with the prime minister, Porter told Jewish Insider. Now, her thinking, she said, was that the delegation would benefit from conferring with Netanyahu, even as he has previously criticized J Street as a radical leftist US organization and refused to meet with the group when its delegations have traveled to Israel. Now, what did Katie Porter get out of this meeting? What was her takeaway from meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu? Well, she said, quote, "I was extremely impressed with Netanyahu's willingness to kind of grapple with us at some of the toughest issues that Israel's facing, everything from judicial reform, an issue that we're having questions and discussions about right now within the Democratic Party here in the United States, to issues about the West Bank and other settlements." Now, there is more. I'm gonna get to it in just a second, but I wanted to give you a chance to chime in, John. Sorry, force of habit, force of habit.
What the hell?
I've called Cenk Trump before on the show, so.
That's understandable. Who hasn't? Come on. But anyway, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna try to forget and
Sorry.
fail. Okay, I wasn't at the meeting. I don't know what exactly was said at the meeting. I don't know what sort of promises were made at the meeting. The idea that he showed a serious willingness to grasp or to grapple with honestly whatever issues with a progressive who he's gonna in a day go back to demonizing, but especially those particular ones. He was really serious about it. Oh, he's totally changed on settlements now, and he got that across in a little sit down. I find that to be ridiculous.
No.
I'm speculating, I don't know, I wasn't there.
No, but my issue she doesn't say that. She doesn't say like, oh, we had a good talk about illegal settlements and he has committed. No, there was no specificity in her statements.
Well, it implied a seriousness as if there was a possible openness to some sort of change.
Right, so look, okay, let me just give you my thoughts on all of this before I give you more details on what she said. So look, I have no problem with politicians pursuing open dialogue with foreign leaders that they might disagree with, okay? I think that negotiations, diplomacy is the way to go. However, that is not what I got out of this. What I got out of this is Katie Porter's running for a Senate seat. She doesn't want various lobbies to come after her as they have other progressive politicians in various congressional races. And so she's helping to launder the reputation of Benjamin Netanyahu in return for certain organizations like to stay away from her or to continue supporting her, in fact. So we've talked extensively about the Democratic majority of Israel
for Israel, yeah.
For Israel, and they have funded all sorts of challengers to progressive candidates in congressional races. Katie Porter doesn't want to deal with that. So I think that's what this is about, because there's no real specificity in what she's saying. She's saying positive, complimentary things about Netanyahu, but she's not saying like Netanyahu has committed to doing this and that. He's reversing his proposal to weaken the country's Supreme Court, an important part of the country's system of checks and balances. There's no specificity, and it's important to focus on that because this isn't really about finding solutions. Again, I have no problem with meeting with foreign leaders, negotiating with them, pushing them to do the right thing. I think that is the way to go, but that is, in my read, that is not what happened here.
Yeah, well, especially when it's someone who we have many years and many cycles of this to go based on in imagining that I don't think that she accomplished much. Like that would be my gut. I don't know for sure, but I'm not inclined to believe that this is going to bear any kind of fruit. And by the way, even lacking the specificity, the fact that, as you say, she's willing to participate in sort of the normalization or the whitewashing of his horrible reputation, that's enough to have an issue with. I think it is.
100%, 100%. I agree.
If it is for, my mind with the same thing as you, is that there's some sort of political calculation for the Senate. Doing this, especially for these political calculations, some people might not mind that. They might think, well, if this results in us having a more progressive senator, then I guess it's a small thing. I don't know that it's a small thing, and I also don't know that it's a particularly good way to accomplish the goal. The idea that this lobby would see that you had this meeting, so they'll back off rather than just giving money to Adam Schiff or whatever. I don't necessarily see that. It's complex, obviously. I'm not, a master strategist or whatever, but they're still gonna want the more reliable person, and they've got the money to spend. So it seems kind of short-sighted at the same time.
Yeah, look, I just know from past election cycles, the amount of money that flowed into the coffers of conservative Democrats who were up against progressive Democrats was incredible. And it completely destroyed the candidacy of progressives like, by the way, Nina Turner in Ohio.
100%.
So that fear exists. I do want to get to some of the lobbying that I'm referring to, right? So according to Open Secrets, Porter has taken $152,440 from individuals and PACs affiliated with J Street during her time as a politician. But I should also note that J Street has continued to support Adam Schiff, even though he's criticized Israel, right? So I guess this strengthens your point, because Adam Schiff has won support from AIPAC, J Street, Democratic Majority for Israel, and JDCA. But even he has said that this is as far as criticism goes. Let's just keep it real. He said that he's deeply concerned about the judicial overhaul in Israel.
Okay. That's fine, it's good to say. He's not gonna have that much effect on it directly or whatever. It's just, he seems to me to be, out of the declared candidates, if you want someone safe who's just going to continue, whatever it is that the Democratic approach to right-wing governance of Israel is, he seems like the person that you'd probably go for. And what we're looking for, we're talking about this one aspect of the considerations for the campaign to come. But also, I have to imagine that in the past, in some of the same races that the Democratic majority for Israel has weighed in on, right-wing money also comes in. So I would love to hear something from Adam Schiff, who I would imagine so far of the declared candidates is the most likely to receive that money. If that's the money that could stop a more progressive candidate from getting elected, I would love to hear some sort of assurances that he's not going to accept money from like right-wing billionaires.
No, I mean, that's not going to happen.
But anyway, yeah.
I mean, look, aside from this specific issue, the problem is money in politics. Because the money in politics leads these politicians to do things that don't make any sense. So why would a progressive lawmaker in the United States of America say such complimentary things about a far-right politician in another country?
Probably get a lot of credit from Fox News.
I mean, come on.
Look at Biden announced yesterday that he was going to potentially start detaining families again, and Fox News has not shut up about how awesome he is. They're posting Dark Brandon memes. It's crazy over there.
Finally, one other thing I want to say about J Street, okay? Because Barbara Lee is probably the most vocal critic of Israel's right-wing government, and she's still endorsed by J Street, so I want to give them credit for that. And to Benjamin Netanyahu's point about how it's a radical leftist organization, it's just because the organization continues to support politicians who are willing to be critical of Israel, and that's it. That's the reason why.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.